Today, I want to talk about the pros and cons of studying with multiple teachers and why you should do it. If you like this video, be sure to press that like button, subscribe, comment, and follow the link in the description to officially join the Quick Start Clarinet community, where you will get lots more great tips and tricks about playing the clarinet. First of all, I want to start off by saying that this video is primarily aimed towards people who are currently taking private lessons and studying with a teacher, or maybe college students who are obviously taking lessons because they're majoring in clarinet, but it can be useful for others too. So if you are already taking lessons and maybe you've considered taking a lesson with another teacher, and maybe you are applying for colleges and want to get to know some of the different teachers or things like that. There's a lot of reasons why we might start studying with a different teacher besides our primary teacher. And there's definitely some pros and cons with that, and some things to talk about there. I want to get started with why I think it's a good idea to study with multiple teachers and study with as many teachers as you possibly can. The thing with clarinet playing is there's really no one proper way to do it. We sort of have a standardized sound that we're going for, but even within that, there's like the French sounds, the German sounds, American clarinet playing is starting to develop, there's jazz, klezmer, classical. Even though it's all the same instrument roughly, there's a lot of different types of playing that we can go for. So I think it's important to expose yourself to as many different teaching styles and teaching ideas as well. The benefits of studying with multiple teachers is that you get their unique perspectives, especially if you're studying with really top performers that you admire, their playing, then you can get some insight into how they play the way that they do. This is really invaluable as a student, because the more perspectives you have, that's sort of the more input that you're synthesizing into your own method of playing clarinet. For me personally, I've been lucky enough to study with and even just take individual lessons with some of the really top clarinet teachers around the country. And every single time, even if it's just for one lesson, I feel like I really get a unique perspective about playing the clarinet that I can apply to my own playing that really helps me advance and work through some things. Sometimes, like with my primary teacher, or with any primary teacher, you might be working on one thing and getting a little bit stuck, and it's difficult to work through. But then going to another teacher, they say something just a little bit different about the same thing, and oftentimes they're even telling you to do the same thing, but just in a slightly different way, and that slight different viewpoint makes something click that suddenly makes that thing that you were having issues with make a lot more sense. At the end of the day, you as a clarinet performer, no matter what level you're at, you have to figure out really what playing the clarinet means to you, and you have to figure out how to get the results that you want consistently. And there's very little harm that studying with multiple people can bring to that. And honestly, it brings a lot of benefit, because every new perspective is a different way to tackle problems that you'll come across in your future playing. The more experience you have studying with different teachers, and the more knowledge that you can have about playing the clarinet, the more easily you'll be able to overcome different challenges in your playing in the future, because you have those unique perspectives and the different ways of looking at different challenges. So you'll be more versatile and more adaptable whenever you come up with something that you need to overcome in your playing. Obviously, just being here in watching a Quick Start Clarinet video, or if you're part of the official Quick Start Clarinet community, then you obviously value the input and knowledge of clarinet. So I really appreciate that, and now I want to go into some of the potential cons, actually, of studying with multiple people. Like I've said already, and hopefully have made clear, I think it's a really good idea to study with multiple people, but sometimes some teachers can get really upset if you've taken lessons with other people and haven't talked to them about it. Or even if you have talked to them about it and they didn't want you to do it, then they get even more upset. So I want to give just a little bit perspective on why a teacher might not want you studying with other teachers. And I don't think it's because they just have some like giant ego and think they're the best teacher and that there's like the only way to learn to do something. That might be the case for very, very few people, but I've definitely never heard of that. The reasons why I do think teachers may not want you studying with other people is because your primary teacher like has a plan for you, and if they're a good teacher, they should at least. We'll assume that they're a good teacher. They should have a plan for you and have an idea on the things that they want you to work on. And a lot of people think that you sort of have to like go in a somewhat linear progression. So like with clarinet playing, maybe I want to make sure that my students are really comfortable with their air before I start talking about embouchure, or vice versa. And teachers might be worried that if you go take a lesson with a different teacher, they might start you on something like too advanced, or be giving you things to think about that you may not really be ready to think about, or that it may be better to think about once you've mastered one skill already. So that's really like the one main disadvantage I can think of for studying with multiple people or like looking up stuff online about playing. But honestly, I think this tiny disadvantage is really not all that big of an impact in comparison to the benefits you can get, especially if you're a little bit more of a developed player, which honestly, if you're taking lessons, you probably are already. Because once you've gotten past the very beginning stages of like setting a foundation of like what it means to play the clarinet, then you can really start to get those different inputs and those different perspectives and start working to synthesize your own ideas. So just as my like final wrap-up conclusion thoughts about this, I think it is extremely valuable to study with just about as many teachers as you can, and I think it's extremely valuable to think critically about what they're saying, and what you're learning and how you can implement that into your playing, and be, of course, sensitive to your primary teacher and what your primary teacher thinks that you should be doing or should not be doing in terms of studying with other people. If your primary teacher, if you ask them that you want to take a lesson with somebody else and they have a problem with it, ask them about that and see why they don't want you learning from other people, and that may help you get some insight into their plan for you as well. So go out there, go study with as many people as you can, learn a lot about playing the clarinet, assemble your pool of clarinet knowledge, and then synthesize that into your own way of clarinet playing, and have fun practicing, and I'll see you in another video.